It is an environmental disaster that went on for decades before it was discovered. Now farmers who were at ground zero say a state plan to save them from financial disaster, it might not be enough. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Brian Yukono.
And I'm Amanda Hill. We all first became aware of PFAS chemicals 7 years ago when York County dairy farmer Fred Stone took our Vivian Lee into his fields and among his cows. All of them were producing milk that contained PFAS. They ingested it in the grass they ate and the water they drank.
That's because Stone was one of dozens of farmers who agreed to have sludge from water treatment plants spread over their fields as fertilizer. They didn't know it contained those so-called forever chemicals, a product of the wastewater from mills and homes. Well, now a state fund set up to help those farmers is ringing up a higher price tag, more than the $60 million already approved last year by lawmakers and Governor Janet Mills.
That PFAS fund has not distributed any money yet, and an advisory panel says it looks like more than $80 million will be needed over the next 5 years. And as News Center Maine's Vivian Lee shows us, farmers who have already been impacted say what money there is could end up being too little too late.
Adam Nordell gets a little emotional when he talks about his organic grain farm, which he started with his wife, Johanna Davis.
It's so sad. It's a beautiful property, and we poured our work and our sweat and our blood and our tears.
The couple, who have a 5-year-old son, pulled products from the shelves and shuttered the farm last year after high levels of PFAS chemicals were discovered in their produce, soil, and drinking water. But he's hopeful the $60 million fund established last year by the legislature and Governor Janet Mills will help his family move forward. The fund will go to buying out contaminated land, helping farms transition to new forms of production, to paying for blood testing, screenings, and health monitoring for farmers, private landowners, families, and workers impacted by PFAS contamination. $500,000 will go to conducting a study utilizing blood donations to reduce levels of toxic chemicals in the blood.
Such a study could follow these participants over time for a long enough period to see if the faster reduction in blood PFAS level.
That possibility feels like a light at the end of a very dark tunnel.
The advisory committee now says the fund needs an additional $20.5 million to address the widespread crisis over the next 5 years. For Arundel dairy farmer Fred Stone, who first sounded the alarm about PFAS, the fund will be key to helping bring back his more than century-old dairy farm on a much smaller scale. Since January, Fred has been dumping the milk of about 40 of his brown Swiss and Holstein cows, which have elevated levels of PFAS. Every other month, the cow's blood and milk are tested by state agricultural officials. So far, the process has decreased the PFAS load in these cows by half, and Fred hopes to have all his cows' milk and blood levels to non-detect for PFAS in about a year.
We'll have a certificate saying that the cows are clean so that we can merchandise them, we can do anything we want with them after that period of time.
The longtime farmer could eventually open a micro dairy and sell gourmet ice cream and other products, which he says would possibly be operated by a new generation of farmers. In Arundel, Vivian Lee, News Center, Maine.
A public hearing on the plan is set for June 12th. Finalizing a plan to begin distribution of the funds is expected in July.